And welcome back to another episode of Code to Cloud. I've got my old buddy here with me, the one and only Master Chief, Derek Smith. I told you I was going to say it, Derek.
You did tell me you were going to say it. It's good to see you, buddy. It really is. It's been too long.
It's been a minute, right?
It has been.
Yeah, it really has. Like, we still stay in touch over text and everything, but
we do. We still stay in touch over text. You're doing your own thing. Been following you obviously very closely and couldn't be happier for you, man. Excited to see where Code to Cloud has been going, all the effort you've been putting in, like the CNCF ambassadorship, like all the stuff you've been doing, man. It's been phenomenal. Literally can't say anything further about it than that.
I know, right? It's been what, 4 or 5 years since we met?
We met, what, 2019? We're going on 5, 6 years. We've
6 years.
Yeah,
right?
I know. Yeah, it's been a while.
So. It's been a while, but yeah, like you, I got a new role at Microsoft as well, and I've shifted to AI and apps now.
Oh, nice. There you go.
I managed to get out of infra, but I'm still doing infra work.
You still need cloud and infrastructure to run AI and applications, right? And I was at a conference yesterday in Dallas, and I was there. Somebody from our strategy and transformation group were there, and obviously our global head of AI was there. And as she was talking about like some of the stuff we're doing in AI, it's like, and then the audience would be asking her questions like, oh, where do you deploy this? Where do you deploy that? And she's like, well, Derek, like all on cloud and infra, like no matter what you're thinking about doing from an AI perspective, from an application perspective, like it's all got to run on something. And whether that's on-prem, hybrid, or pure public cloud, like clients are looking at and asking how to make the right choice from a platform perspective when it comes to AI and where best to run it. And so that's been fun to have a lot of these conversations and kind of really tease out the use cases of what people are doing, and then picking the right spot for it to run.
Yeah, like that's half the conversations I have, is because, believe it or not, it's very difficult to hire somebody with networking skills. And I don't mean networking is in the sense of meeting people and going to meetups. I mean like networking connectivity skills, right? Mm-hmm. So it seems to be a bit of a shortage.
It is definitely a bit of a shortage. I've actually been I've been keeping tabs on somebody that's been on my radar from an influencer perspective. She's now the chief evangelist over at Megaport. And her, her content has been around like, how do you make network engineering cool again? And to an extent, I agree with her statement, right? I think the art of network engineering and kind of that whole aspect, like it's really lost like its aura, right? I think of back in the early 2000s, anybody who has ever, I got to go out and get Cisco certified and
that's right,
do all the things that, and then over the years, it's just slowly, even like in the mid 2000s, it was Cisco or Juniper, like it was both of them. And then it's just been slowly dropping off. And now I agree with you. There's a real shortage of quality network skill sets, and especially in the cloud, like on-prem infrastructure networking is different than cloud networking and how that goes about that. And so I think that's good and bad, right? I think the unintended consequence has been we've delivered so much networking through code, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I think people have lost that skill set to really understand how to design networks, how to truly build them out for scale, for microsegmentation, and how to apply policies both from a north-south perspective, but also an east-west perspective, and how that supports AI, because now it's a whole different paradigm to do that. And then, hopefully the unintended consequence isn't there, is that we all of a sudden don't start, AI agent, network deployments and network, design and planning, because I think there's a level of expertise and skill that's needed there. But more so, how do we augment AI engineer or network engineers with, some AI agent to really help them, accelerate that. And I think that'll kind of hopefully draw a new generation, a new crowd back into networking, and hopefully in my view. So yeah, it's been a challenge. I agree.
Yeah, like I've had conversations with like early in careers, even inside of Microsoft, and they're like, "Yeah, it's too hard." I'm like, "Yeah, but that's why it's good,
Yeah.
right?"
Yeah.
But they're like,
Everybody wants easy.
they want easy, and to your point, like software-defined networking in the cloud has taken a level of that complexity away. So when you do get called, it's for the hard things.
Hmm.
BGP, route
Yeah.
tables,
Routing.
topology design, right? It's
Hmm.
always bigger stuff, right? You know, hub and spoke versus Azure V1, whatever, right? It's like, and how does that work? And then you've got like layer 7, we've got application gateway firewalls and all this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Front door,
CNAPs,
CDN. Yeah.
CNAPs, right?
Botnap. Yep. Hmm.
Whatever, right? And they're like, yeah, it's too hard. I'm like, that's not the answer. It's the wrong answer, right?
It really is the wrong answer. And I think it's because it's not fun. Like how we've gone about automating or make and simplifying the easier parts of networking has kind of not helped people get back into networking. And I think I posted on LinkedIn like 2 weeks ago. The authors of the CCNA book, they sent me their book, and I'm like, I was just reading through chapter after chapter, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is bringing back so many cool memories of like when I was studying for my CCNA originally, and like the different things you needed to learn about, TCP/IP protocol and all the different layer stacks and what protocols are doing, and then building out, spanning tree protocol, and then VLANs and how to map them out, router on a stick, like all that stuff, like. Just even talking about it now, I'm like, ooh, like this is all the really good stuff. Now, admittedly, I hyper focused on IPv6 personally because I re-architected my home network to
Of
IPv6.
course.
Because why not? It's only been around for a decade and a half, so
20, yeah, it's longer than that, right?
is it?
I'm
Well, it really became
2005, that kind of thing.
2005. Yeah, it's 20 years, so that's true.
SPs only started rolling it out though.
Early 2010s. Yeah,
Yeah, I would say that, right? Like dishing it out.
we officially ran out of IPv4 space in 2011, 2012.
Do you remember the news headlines?
Yes.
They tried to make it out like
There's
it was the end of the world.
No more IPv4. It's going away. And
It's
here we
still
are,
here.
and it's still here. Hasn't gone anywhere. So
Oh, hilarious.
it's
It's trip down memory lane. But I alluded to, yeah, the chief, as
Yeah.
I called him, right?
Mhm.
But you got a new gig, right? I know it's been
I
about 6
did.
months, but
It will be, yeah, actually, you know what? It officially has been 6 months. I started on St. Patrick's Day here in the US. So March 17th. So we are past September 17th. So yeah, it's officially been 6 months. But yeah, it's been fun working as the chief architect over at Apex Systems, really helping drive our focus from a technical standpoint and what we're doing both in the cloud space, but also the infrastructure space. And then not only focusing on that, but more broadly what we do to support the other areas, right? How do we work together with our cybersecurity group? What we do to help our application development team and AI and data. Like it, I've really tried to help focus on building the holistic story in terms of what we do and how that ties into other groups, because it usually is never just the one thing. And talking with clients, like, yes, they may be hyper focused on that. They're like, oh, like, you know, my, I need to migrate this to the cloud, or I need to think about how to govern my cloud better, apply these policies, or, maybe it's more of a FinOps lens, or it's needing to consolidate and operate the cloud, in a more unified fashion. But ultimately, there's something beyond that. Like it's that initial is just like the tip of the iceberg for them. And so it's been fun to really kind of set up and start build that out from my perspective. And yeah, I've had a lot of fun with it. Um, and it's been unique to have a lot of different conversations. Don't get me wrong, I love Microsoft, but it's fun to have a much broader.
you've been cheating on me, Derek. Is that what you're
I'm
saying?
not. I am slightly, just a little bit, but that's okay, right? Microsoft loves multi-cloud.
We do.
That's why you have Arc.
We're like securing multi-cloud.
Yeah, you like security in multi-cloud. You like Arc for managing multi-cloud. So
that's right.
it's not.
I jest. Do you know?
Mhm.
Do you know? I always say, if we didn't have AWS, we wouldn't have Azure.
Yeah,
It's like the
I agree
space
with that.
race, right?
Mhm.
So competition's good.
Competition's good. Oracle is now coming into the competition.
Now, what's that about? Like someone told me this week there was some
Mhm.
sort of news announcement. Like
Yeah.
they build in data centers for OpenAI. Is that
Yeah,
right?
that's right. Yeah.
Wow,
OpenAI,
it's wild, man.
signed a huge agreement with OpenAI. They're modernizing the data center that Oracle has in Austin in Texas, which is their flagship one. And then they're going to start doing the same thing to a couple of their other data centers here in the US and then building some more. So yeah, it'll be Google has some fresh competition in my view. I don't know that OCI is at a point now where they're much of I would say a direct competition threat to AWS or Azure, but definitely Google
Dude.
is more in their crosshairs, right? And they've gone about it a different way. Um, putting our previous conversation of networking back on, like a lot of their thing that they've been focused on is very hyper low latency network connectivity across the cloud, irrespective of where you initially build or deploy, right? And so being able to provide very low latency across multi-region deployments from an infrastructure and application perspective. So it's been really cool to kind of start playing in that world and see what that unlocks. And I think the cool thing is Oracle's not. I mean, yes, they'd love people to be in Oracle Cloud, but they also partner with all the other three, and so they're not above being like, hey, oh, you want to go do this in Azure? Great, do Oracle database on Azure, and we're still happy to be a part of that and support that. So I think that's really helped them, I think, elevate to where they're at today, in my view.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked when I heard the news because you just don't think that, right? When you think Oracle, right?
Mm-mm.
You always think big data warehouses and data stores and that kind of thing, right? That's what they're famous for. So yeah, like for them, it's like they're, changing their spot, so to say, right? And exploring other things. Oh, well, that's good.
It is
So,
good.
so I mean, I've been so busy this week, like so busy. I'm a bit out of the loop, but yeah, like I did an AI event this week, and
Hmm.
it started off as a little idea, and I thought I was gonna have like 20 people in the room, and then there ended up being like 150 people in the room, something like that.
Nice, dude.
And yeah, it was great. We did like an AI Frontiers event, and we did like AI landing zones, building agents. It was one guy even built an app in a space of like 3 or 4 days
Hmm.
using GitHub Copilot, and it was like a musical keyboard, and he played it in front of the audience.
Nice.
I was just blown away.
Yeah,
I'm like, the tools that are available now, right? It's pretty wild. But yeah.
it is. It's become very democratized, right? And we were talking, beforehand, the whole vibe coding scene and talking with Dr. Gene Kim, like the tools that are now available to non-professional developers, right? To be able to give them access to GitHub Copilot and to other tools on their desktop and say, okay, you've got this idea, start coding it. And then, you know, have that get them 60%, 70%, 80% of the way there. And then, be able to potentially r- rank that, score that to how capable that application is and measure its impact from a production perspective. And then if it's meets the right criteria, right, push that up to the pro code folks, and then you can start get that into production.
I was just laughing there. I just saw the hand.
Yes, yes. Nicole came in. My lunch has arrived.
This is
So
what happens when you're the chief,
this
right?
is I use so I had a so I obviously I'm coming to Microsoft Ignite
Obviously.
in November, but I actually just got an email from our fun folks at Microsoft that I've been cordially invited to be a part of the Signature Pass. right? So that's another level up from a past perspective.
Very nice.
And I've been seeing some of our friends out there getting their invites to speak at Microsoft Ignite. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a long 3 weeks because both Ignite and reInvent are bracketing Thanksgiving. You've got San Francisco, Thanksgiving, Vegas,
Do you know what I'm doing for Thanksgiving?
staying home.
Playing Battlefield. Yeah,
There you go. All right.
yeah. I'm 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 looking forward to that.
There
Right.
you go. I'll
So
uh I'll be staying in California. We haven't had Thanksgiving with my family, like my parents, my brother, my sister-in-law, my nephew in like 8 years. So
nice.
we're gonna stay out there. We're gonna enjoy some Thanksgiving, and then yeah, I'll pop down to Vegas for.
Pop down. I like that.
It's like a 40-minute flight. It's not too bad.
Do you know I've never been to Vegas. It's on my bucket list. I don't know if I bring out the best of me or the worst of me, right? Like I just got this funny feeling, right? So, but yeah, it'd be good to go to one of the conferences there. But yeah, well, what's been top of mind for you anyway?
What's been top of mind for me, or what we've been having a lot of conversations with clients, has been, I think I've mentioned this earlier, right? We have a lot of conversations around how to unify cloud and infrastructure into a single pane of glass. And what I mean by that is, how do you provide an organization a capability and a service to be able to help application owners, app teams, developers, whoever, accelerate what they're doing, and do that in a way that, kind of what DevOps, talking about Dr. Gene Kim, right, was originally intended to do, which was help organizations go faster, help dev teams and op teams collaborate so that when those teams needed something, it wasn't like, let me launch it over the wall and hope and pray that the op teams are going to know, how many servers to spin up at what capacity and all that stuff, right? So now we're taking it a step further and saying, here are all the capabilities that we have from a platform perspective. You can have, option A, option B, option C, D, E, F, right? You developer, you've coded your app, you know what you need, pick whatever option you need, deploy it, all the governance, FinOps, security, all that stuff is baked in as part of the pipeline. And then you just deploy it and you go, right? And then you, as the ops person, don't have to sit there and stress or worry about, what that dev team is doing. Are they scaling some, M series VM that's just
Of
costing you
course.
$10,000 a day? Like you're just, so I think, as clients have looked at these examples, right? They've seen what the Netflixes of the world have done, what Spotify has done, right, with Backstage and others, and they're like, we want to do that. And especially in today's world, as tool sprawl, tech debt has become, I think, a real concern and a real problem for that a lot of organizations are really hyper focusing on. This wave of consolidation, this wave of how do I reduce what I have and consolidate it down to provide a more streamlined and efficient experience, coupled with AI to help me do that. Yeah, we've really seen this push to get to some level of platform ops, right? DevOps, what I would refer to as DevOps 2.0. And it's taking it just yet another step further to, instead of collaborating, let's work, let's still collaborate, but how do I provide you self-service capabilities, right? How do I give you what you need without you even needing to ask me for it, so that you can just run and go and code, do everything you need. I don't lose any sleep at night that you're doing something that's going to, blow the organization up tomorrow and, cause me massive headaches um, from that perspective. And, really, I think change how an organization operates, right? Because I mentioned the conference I was at earlier, and our head of AI was talking about some of the things that she's worked on, and she talked about waste, right? The huge focus of some of these implementations has been waste. Well, we in IT waste a ton of time having, I mean, this. How many meetings are you in where you're like, this could have been just an email, or this just could have been a Teams message? Like, time waste is, I think, a huge thing. And I get that it's not a hard cost for a lot of organizations, it's a soft cost, but that adds up over time. And especially when people are probably your most valuable resource, the more you can get them focused on the things that matter and offset or augment or push off their table the things that can be automated, can be standardized, made way more efficient. That really I think can help accelerate an organization. And obviously, like I gave you the two examples of Netflix and Spotify. I mean, just look at where they're at today and imagine 50, 100, 200 other companies that could be at that same level. Like it would be just absolutely crazy. Some of the innovation, I think, things that we would see that organizations could come up with.
Yeah, I always use those examples of those companies as like the utopia, right? Because there's always this journey. But what you're effectively speaking about is platform engineering, right? But
Hmm.
I've spent a long time, I'd say over the past 2 years, focusing in on platform engineering. But the thing that sort of bugged me about it was it was locked into Kubernetes, right? If you
It
go
was.
and
Hmm.
if you well, it is, right? If you go and look at like what industry or the open source community determines platform engineering is, that you have to have a Kubernetes cluster. But I also think that just then introduces a higher barrier. And I just wish, to your point, the catalog, right? Even if it was a CLI, it would be great if you could just take one step back, and because there's other resources, right? You've then got to be dependent on what you can run inside a container to then
Hmm.
serve those developers. And sometimes
Yeah.
that's not the case, right? It's
Well, sometimes Kubernetes just isn't the right fit,
it's not the
right?
right fit, right?
And we have to be okay understanding that platform engineering can be decoupled away from Kubernetes. Like it can still be VMs, it can still be serverless, like it can be anything that you can construct from a code perspective, right? You're still leveraging whatever IAC tool you want, right? It can be, Bicep, can be Terraform, OpenTofu, Python, whatever. Doesn't matter. The more I can code that, make it a golden path type of pipeline that my developer knows, like, hey, this is how this app is constructed, or this is how I'm intending to build this app. And you provide them the flexibility to select what is the best fit for their application. And they're able to just hit deploy and go. That's fine. Right. So I don't, I think we're moving past the need for platform engineering or platform ops to be hooked to Kubernetes clusters being the main point. It still, I think, is a predominant feature, and we obviously want organizations to move to more modern architectures, but sometimes that just isn't feasible and it isn't the right fit, and so it's okay for it to be other things. And then the other step is, what does that feedback loop look like, right? And it's a feedback loop across getting the telemetry out of not only the infrastructure, but getting in the governance from a FinOps perspective, getting that feedback loop from, observability and security, right? And being able to be more predictive, right? And being more anticipating what the potential problems will be, and right, baking in a little bit of SRE principles and make it resilient and understand that, hey, if something is going to fail, these are the likely points that it's going to fail. And I'm going to preemptively address them, or at least have the pieces in place to be able to address them should it become an issue. Right. And so I think that's where we see kind of platform ops bridging, right? The platform engineering, the SREs of the world, and kind of the legacy DevOps, right? Kind of bringing those groups together. And even some people once you kind of infuse AI, right, then that's the whole conversation of AI ops. Now you're infusing agentic patterns to do a lot of those things that I talked about, where you have agents handling some of those capabilities, right? And I think that takes even yet another step of maturity for clients to get to, because we've heard some horror stories of AI deploying or deleting things that they shouldn't have. So there's a level of trust that has to be established, which is counter to security, where we say zero trust, right? Trust but verify. You and I had a fun conversation with somebody about that, where that word originated from. Um, but in the conference that I was at yesterday, and one of the keynote speaker that gave up and talked about, like, he was talking about what the next 3 to 5 years would look like from an IT perspective. And one of his main themes was trust is going to be the new currency. Organizations have to trust that you're going to deliver on whatever that outcome is, whatever you're saying it is, right? trust the systems and how they're integrated, how they're talking to each other. And if there isn't that trust established, and if that trust isn't there, then the whole thing's just going to not work or fall apart. And I think that that is ultimately true. And where we kind of see that coming towards is this whole idea of platform operations, right? Is being able to establish the level of trust between all of these different parts of the organization and making it available and saying, hey, if you're going to go build this new application, if you're going to vibe code this new thing, right? Here's the platform. We have constructed all of the right paths for you to take. Pick the path that makes the most sense, and we trust you, right? We trust that you're going to that you're in the right lane, you're in the right guardrails, and you'll have the right. And they're inherently trusting the other side that's saying, hey, you've given me everything I need to take this to the right level to make it beneficial to the organization. And there's going to be a return on investment from that perspective. So ultimately, right, it comes back to that trust. And I think that's where we're still, I think, in the platform ops world, figuring out how best to establish and instantiate that trust across the different systems, um, and building kind of that unified, integrated environment. But you are inherently seeing a lot of ISVs and other organizations head that direction, right? We've seen a lot of M&A over the last 6 to 8 months. You're seeing a lot of organizations push away from necessarily best of breed to broader platform capabilities. Like, hey, what do you offer holistically? Maybe you're not the best in every single one, but you've got every single one, and that's what matters.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like we've overcomplicated things.
We have.
Do you feel like we should be simplifying teams and organizations?
I I think there's always going to be an inherent level of complexity when it comes to enterprises. Like, you need to have a lot of like, the goal is to be hyper specialized, right? You want to have people who are really good in certain aspects of it, right? I think we got too far down this rabbit hole of, and I know you've seen this when we've joked about it, right? All these job descriptions got to have 10 years of cloud experience with 10 years of development experience and 5 years of security. At like, some of these job roles that I've seen are just absolutely insane, where you're looking for literally the most magnanimous unicorn in the IT world. And oh, by the way, that's a junior level role. Like, I just don't think that's realistic. And so I do think there's now a pushback to simplify, because we've understand that simplifying things makes it more streamlined, makes it more efficient, and therefore reduces the waste that we've been seeing and helps organizations go faster, right? Because obviously the more complexity you introduce, that slows things down. There's potential waste because now you've got to, you know, figure out how to stitch together all these inherent things, and trying to mesh things together, maybe there isn't necessarily a good way to integrate them. And so you end up having this convoluted amalgam of a system that's built. My favorite meme that I use as a platform ops example, I know people have probably seen this, right? It's the stack of Jenga blocks, and it's the one little component built by some random guy in a basement in Nebraska in 2009, right? And it's literally keeping up the whole system. But all the pieces are like this weird Jenga, Tetris style thing. And I think that's inherently the problem. If you keep it simple, right, you just see this pyramid, right? And I use that as my real world example. The
Engineers over
engineering.
engineer stuff, right?
Yeah. How long have the pyramids been standing?
Keep it. I say it all the time.
6,000 years. Yeah. 7,000 years. It's a simple
Just
prism.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, but but why? Is it delivering the business outcome?
Yeah. What's the fastest, right? What's the fastest distance between 2 points? It's a straight line. It's not, let's go squiggly, whatever, right? What's the other acronym? Keep it simple. I won't say the last part, but just to be nice. I know. Yeah, I know. Right. But I think we as technology professionals, right, we love all the cool tech, like, oh, how do I, figure out how to build this really cool thing? And I think we've inherently introduced our own problem, which is the complexity with it. And I'm not saying that there won't ever be complexity. There's always complex systems, but I think how we resolve that problem is how do we simplify as much as we can. So again, that the business value and the problem that we're solving, we get as straight of a line as possible. It's never going to be perfect, right? We're humans. And as I love saying, perfect is the enemy, right, of good enough. And I think we start with good enough and we keep moving forward in a very straightforward, simplistic fashion, right? As our friend Mike used to say, what is our North Star, right? As long as you are working towards that goal, that North Star, like everything should align to that. And that's a very simplistic messaging, right? And I think every organization has to really ask themselves, like, what are the business goals? What are the North Stars that we are achieving? And what is the simplest way to get from that point A to the North Star of point B?
And that's where I'm hoping AI is going to help because it augments the effort, right, and
Hmm.
the approach, and especially if you've got these complex systems. You were talking about technical debt. It would be great if we just had an AI agent that just went, go away, come back with 5 different outcomes, kind of thing, right, of how to reduce this technical debt.
Well, how do you reduce the technical debt? How do you bridge the gap from knowledge, right? From an AI system perspective. Um, you've got people who, in various industries that are, probably we're shifting workforce, right? A lot of the, Gen X are starting to retire. They've operated a lot of this machinery, other systems for decades, right? And that's a lot of institutional knowledge. And now you're trying to bring in, millennial, Gen Z type of workforce who, no offense, that isn't super interesting or entertaining to them to want to go work those and learn those. And I think that's where AI can really help bridge that knowledge gap where you can use the millennial Gen Z workforce to say, how do I automate or AI augment that capability and take that 30-year knowledge base that person has and apply that to continue to not only operate but potentially accelerate what a business is doing. And there's plenty of examples out there of where certain organizations have done that, right? You can see it in manufacturing, you can see it in transportation and logistics, in supply chain, right? It is, I think AI in that sense is going to be the most powerful, right? And it's building it on a platform. Think about having an AI platform that knows how to operate. I'll pick on shipping logistics, right? Because it was a fun example that I heard the other day, right? You have 5 people who operate, say, a logistics distribution center, and they have to decide where the truck trailer goes to be dropped off at a door. And that door has to be the right door because it has to be near the right team that can unload it and the conveyor belt that can handle the packages, like, and all that sorts of stuff. So imagine 5 people every single day having to figure out how to maneuver hundreds of trailers. Now introduce AI, put AI alongside them to help making deterministic, like deep thinking decision making. And can AI get to 80%, 85% of making those decisions for those flow controllers, right? And so now you have a platform that can be trusted to make a lot of those, low to high, medium complexity decisions. And you only need the flow controllers now to make like the really complex decisions. And now instead of 5, maybe you only need 1 or 2, right? And and now you have a very clear, you know, way to get trucks into the logistics center, offloaded the right way, right, and back on the road, saving waste, right? It all comes back to this whole waste. And then somebody joked in the room, right? We were talking about this. What if we could do that for airports, right?
Oh, that would be amazing.
Think about
Space
not.
space travel.
Yeah, yeah.
You just keep going further, right?
You
But you
keep
know what
going
I'm talking
further.
about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, think about
But
building a platform, but airports, right?
airports, totally.
How quickly you can get a plane to a gate, right? And we have this shortage of air traffic controllers. Well, let's start training agents to help get planes on the ground, route them to the right paths to get to the runway to the gates. I you can't tell me that it can't be done. It absolutely can be. Like there's ways to help enhance and build that from a technology standpoint. So now maybe you do only need 2 or 3 people in the air traffic control tower, and you have agents, helping augment and support how to direct pilots to where they need to go.
So I was watching something the other day, or I was reading it. So the Ministry of Defence, the
Mhm,
MOD back in Great Britain, they're building a frigate with, so it's going to be fully manned or fully
mhm.
populated, right? Depending on who's on board, right? But fully manned by the Royal Navy, and then it's going to have two supporting frigates, smaller ones that are AI like controlled, and they're going to support this main vessel, and they're going to be out in the North Atlantic detecting submarines from our friends from across the ocean, right? And I just couldn't get my head around it. So it would speak to each other to basically detect, you know, foreign submarines or enemy submarines, right, underneath the Atlantic Ocean, and we all know how deep that is, right? And I just and then they're going to try and move this to aircraft carriers. To your point, the airport, right? So
Mhm.
if they can do it with that, then
Power is there, right? It's just applying and unlocking it. Um, Heck, I mean, while I was traveling last week, right, I was watching Shark Tank, right, here in the US, and this gal came on.
love that show.
Yeah, I love that show, right? It's just cool to see how people apply ideas, but, she was in her mid-20s, and she built a platform for college applications, right? And she constructed different agents to handle different aspects of college admissions, right? Tell me about who you are, what are your interests, what do you do with your friends, what schools do you want to go to, right? And you can tailor the system to be super specific to where I want to get into Oxford and only Oxford, like ignore everything else. What do I need to do? Or you're like, I don't know what I want to do. I have some general interests, like just give me your best, guess based on what are all my interests, right? What are the things I love to do with my friends? And it'll help kind of narrow down your selection and then help you write your essays, right? What sort of things do you need to do from a extracurricular perspective, right? And that's all in the platform. She's by herself, like she's the only full-time employee. Um, and she's just secured a $1.5 million evaluation from an investment perspective.
That's
Like
wild.
that's what like think about that from a platform operational perspective. Like one girl is running an entire multi-agentic system running on who knows where, right? And she is driving that type of valuation, that type of growth, right? Simple idea, simple execution, right? And using platform to drive how to deliver that to kids looking to, you know, get into college, and that is it's a tough process. Like I remember it back in the early 2000s when I was doing it. Like it was super daunting, and to hire a college advisor, like it wasn't cheap, right? And now we have a way to, you know, democratize that and take all the different skill sets that various college advisors have, agentify it, right? And then offer it up as an easy platform to help you get where you want to go, right?
Yeah, I
That's
mean, could you imagine like I was gonna say accessibility, but imagine you're really good at whatever it is you want to go and study, but to your point, you don't know where to go or how to apply yourself in the right way,
Mhm,
because a lot of these institutions is about how you different like references you've got, or
mhm.
pointers that you need. And if you don't have those mentors, to your point, you said you pretty much sounds like you had to hire someone to help you out, right? Like that's not available for all
Everybody.
folks, right?
Yeah.
No. So that's a real game changer right there.
And it's a huge game changer. Yeah. Think of a kid in a rural area where a lot of those resources may not be readily available. Now, you know, in the palm of their hand, if or somewhere where they can go to get an internet, right? Like a cafe or coffee shop or somewhere, be able to use a tool like that. And, they could be the next Stephen Hawking or, Bill Gates or whoever. And we just don't know it because the barrier to get beyond that has been so challenging for a lot of people. And now you have a way to help reduce that barrier and get them to the right school that could really help them accelerate and shine with their skill sets that maybe they're not even aware of that they have, right? That's a hugely powerful thing. So, kind of goes back to our point of like, how do you keep things simple? How do you simplify it from a platform perspective? And it reminds me of this point of like, yes, platform engineering, all that stuff, you know, it's been hooked to a lot of different things, but ultimately, I tell a lot of organizations, we've kind of lost what DevOps was originally intended to be, right? It was meant to be this way for us to collaborate, to simplify and align things, right? To achieve the goal, right? And we were talking about the Phoenix project. Um, it took a lot of pain, right, in the early parts of the book to understand, like, oh, here's all the different things we need to get this off the ground. And by the end, they figured out, oh, there is a really simple way to do this. If we, stop letting our most precious resource get bogged down doing this, and we start actually controlling how this is intaked, right, we can streamline this process. And then what took the original cumbersome Phoenix project 3 years to get done, we got the new iteration of it with open source and all that stuff. What took them a couple weeks, and they even surpassed it. So yeah, it is going back to platformization, simplifying, driving efficiency, right, reducing that waste, and that's things we've learned from a supply chain and manufacturing perspective, and we just do not apply it, I think, very well in IT across the board. And I've heard a lot of organizations like, oh yeah, we do DevOps. Well, you have a couple of people that you say are DevOps engineers, but they end up being in this team in this silo way over here. That's not really DevOps. That's not really driving what platform, the efficiencies and the simplicity that it was meant to drive. And so I think now with kind of this rebrand of platform ops, right? And how do we automate and self-service with, again, with the AI really kind of helping us do that? How do we then give the business what it needs, right? Treating the business like it's a customer. We IT are the person who are providing our customers, the business, with the services they need to go do what they need to do. And so it's a model we are very aware of, where we've known for decades, right? It's just more about the application of it and helping organizations get there. But to the earlier part of the Phoenix project, right? The other part of it is helping the organizations untangle and deal with the mess that's inherently there, getting that cleaned up so that you can start charging forward. And that's cleanup's hard, especially when you've let it built up over 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Heck, some FSIs, right, still have old mainframes that have been there since the 50s and 60s. Like that's a massive problem. And now with AI, right, with GitHub Copilot and others, right, we're now finding ways for organizations to bridge that gap between where the business is today and that old mainframe that they've had to spend tens of millions of dollars to keep operational, right? Because they have to go find some random person who still knows COBOL or, DBZ OS language, whatever, right? Some ancient thing that, nobody really has a ton of knowledge around, right? We now have the technology to bridge that, and help address that mess and that capability.
Yeah. Phone call to IBM, right? I've been in those situations. Literally is, right? Most of the time.
I
But
don't even know if it's a phone call to IBM. Like, right? I think there's even a level of IBM where they're just like, yeah, that's super old. I don't even know that they have people around who still understand that. Um, you know, you can't tell me that, there's still people around at Microsoft who sign up for Microsoft Access. Like, yeah, I still know that. Like,
God, that even existed.
exactly. See, proof of my point.
I did grow up with it.
We did.
That was the database.
Mm-hmm. But
But
we've moved past it.
it was localized, right? It was like in
Mm-hmm.
the Office suite,
Yeah.
just for folks on the call, like, what are these guys on about?
But technically,
yeah.
it still exists. Like I literally can pull up on my computer right now, and Access is still an app. But if I were to run into an issue with it, and I phoned into Microsoft, I doubt I'll find somebody who knows it.
It's not Cosmos DB, right?
Yeah,
Or Azure
exactly.
SQL, right? Or something
Which
like
is the
that.
future, and that's
Yeah.
fine. So
But yeah, right. Well, we're at the end of this delightful conversation.
We are.
And so, any final thoughts?
Any final thoughts? Yeah. I'm gonna talk about platform ops more. Got an upcoming webinar, so stay tuned or check out my social feeds on LinkedIn or Instagram. You can find the link. Go register. And we talk about strategies around how to get going with platform ops, right? Because sometimes the hardest thing is knowing where to get started, right? And what are some of the key strategies that you can think about and implement from an organizational perspective to get the ball rolling. And as with anything, the first step is always the hardest. But once you take that step, right, and you start seeing the wins and the early success things, like it just starts building that momentum, and then it becomes this giant snowball, right? And you're just rolling everybody along to kind of really getting there. And it's something I think that, every organization wants to do, right? It's just they don't know where to get started. And they all see, again, we see the shiny examples, right? The Netflixes and the Spotify's of the world. Um, and we all could benefit from what they've learned, what they've done, and really democratize that out. So definitely stay tuned for that. And then other final thoughts has just it's been good to have this conversation with you again. I miss it. We could probably have another like 8 of these on so many other different topics.
You'll be back. You'll
Yeah.
be back.
And I need to get up to Calgary, dude. I got to come and see you. So
I think you need to come and talk about platform ops. That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah. Any excuse.
So it's up to you if you want to come in the winter or in the summer.
I mean, I'm a snowboarder, so I don't. Well, that doesn't bother me. You tell me there's snow, like that's not like a hindrance.
I can get you a lot of snow.
That's fine.
8 weeks from now, it's gonna be so much snow, dude. So much snow.
Yeah, I'll bring my board. I'll be good.
Okay, no, I'll get it booked in. But yeah,
there we go.
Where's the best place for folks to find you?
Best place to find me, either on LinkedIn or Instagram. So LinkedIn, Consider Cloud DS, or Consider Cloud with Derek, and then my Instagram handle at Consider Cloud DS. Admittedly, I had to shut down X.
I did that 2 weeks ago. I had to cut it loose.
I saw another influencer, and it's like, and kind of thinking about it, where I think we got into this. We can talk about this another time, right? From a personal branding perspective, I think all of us ran to like, oh, we got to be on every single platform. No, you don't. You got to go to where it makes the most sense for you to be, like the type of content you love consuming, right? And go be on that platform, because it's much easier for you to create and to interact and to be a part of that. So for me, it's always been Instagram and LinkedIn is where I consume most of my content. And so I love being around that. And, I've been starting this new series around like my kids and their personas around different things. So it's been fun creating some of those stories, and I'm gonna do more of that. And then, yeah, just doing these like short videos talking to people about things like networking and cloud, and just, make it fun again, right? That make the difficult stuff seem cool and fun, like something that people want to get into and enjoy. Because, we need more people in tech. No matter who you are, where you come from, whatever, like bringing them into the tech community, I think would be just a huge benefit. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be focused on. So yeah, LinkedIn and Instagram.
It's awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks to our listeners as always. And if you like what you've seen or heard, don't forget to like and subscribe or leave a comment in your favorite podcast app. And until the next one, it's goodbye for now.